She handed her jacket to a freezing stranger, not knowing he was a millionaire who would forever alter her fate. The wind screamed through Boston's avenues, a savage force hurling snow against the windows of Brewhaven, a cozy cafe nestled in a quiet city corner. Inside, flickering fluorescent lights cast a faint glow over vacant tables as the clock crept past midnight. Anna lay, 24, stood behind the counter, her apron marked with coffee stains and her dark hair tied in a messy bun. She cleaned the espresso machine, her movements automatic despite the fatigue weighing her down. The storm outside battered the glass, but it was a silhouette at the door that made her freeze. A man stood there, hunched against the wind, his thin body shaking beneath a worn-out coat. Snow clung to his tangled hair, and his lips were tinged with blue. Anna gasped, her cleaning cloth slipping from her grip. She peered through the frosted window. He didn't move, just shivered a ghost lost in the storm. "Jesus," she whispered, heading toward the back door. Jake, her co-worker, paused mid-sweep and looked up. "Anna, what are you doing?" he called, his voice sharp over the storm's howl. She didn't answer, her hand already on the lock. "There's someone out there. He's freezing." Jake dropped his broom and hurried over, peering past her. "Anna, don't go. He's not your responsibility. Let him sort it out." Her jaw set. She twisted the deadbolt. "He's half dead, Jake. I can't just walk away. He could be drunk or worse. But dash. Then call 911 if you're that worried." Jake grabbed her arm, but she pulled away. "And let him freeze while we wait? No way." Her voice was firm, unwavering. "He needs help now." Jake threw up his hands, frustrated. "Fine, play the hero. But don't expect me to help if he causes trouble." Ignoring him, Anna pushed the door open. The wind hit her like a slap, slicing through her sweater as she stepped into the blizzard. Snow stung her face, but she pressed on, reaching the man in a few quick steps. Up close, he looked worse sunken eyes, pale skin, shivering uncontrollably. He seemed older than her, perhaps 33, but the lines on his face told stories beyond his years. Without hesitation, Anna unzipped her only jacket, a battered coat she'd saved for, and slipped it off. "Here," she said, offering it to him. He stared at her, dazed, his hands too shaky to take it. Anna moved closer, draping the jacket over his shoulders herself, the cold biting into her skin. "Come on," she urged, teeth chattering. "Let's get inside." He stumbled along, leaning on her as she guided him in. Jake glared from behind the counter, but said nothing, muttering under his breath. Anna ignored him, helping the stranger into a chair near the heater. The jacket hung loosely on his thin frame, but color slowly returned to his cheeks as he warmed up. She fetched a towel and handed it to him, watching as he wiped the snow from his face. Anna was known for her kindness. She worked double shift to support her family, scraping by on tips and stubborn optimism. But this man was different. Dirty jeans, worn boots, a beard untouched by a razor for weeks. No one would suspect he was Leon Brooks, a millionaire who had vanished from public life. To Anna, he was simply a stranger in need. She crouched beside him, hugging herself for warmth. "You okay?" she asked gently. He looked up, gray eyes meeting hers, clouded and distant, as if seeing her through fog. His lips cracked open, and he whispered, "Thanks." Anna nodded, holding his gaze as the storm's howl faded into the background. Something flickered in his eyes' gratitude, or perhaps something deeper she couldn't name. She stood, brushing snow from her sleeves, already wondering who he was and how he'd ended up here. The storm battered Brewhaven's windows, drowning out the heater's hum. Anna stood behind the counter, sweater damp from the snow, watching the stranger she'd rescued. He sat slumped by the radiator, her oversized jacket still around his shoulders, hands clasped around his knees for warmth. The clock passed 1 a.m., and Jake had left, grumbling about her soft heart. Now, it was just Anna and the shivering mystery. She grabbed a mug, still warm from the dishwasher, and filled it with black coffee from the pot she'd made earlier. Steam curled upward as she crossed the room, her sneakers squeaking on the wet floor. "Here," she said, offering the mug. "It's hot. Drink up." He looked up, his gray eyes meeting hers briefly before dropping to the steaming cup. His hands trembled as he accepted it, the skin raw and reddened by the cold. "Leon," he croaked, his voice rough and unsteady. "Leon's my name." Anna nodded, pulling a chair over to sit across from him. "I'm Anna. Do you have a last name, Leon?" she asked. He stared into the coffee, silent for a long moment, then took a careful sip, wincing as the heat hit his chapped lips. "Just lying," he muttered, barely loud enough to be heard over the wind. She waited, hoping he'd say more where he was from, why he'd been out in the storm, but he stayed quiet, his eyes fixed on a mug as if it held secrets. "You can't sleep out there," she said, nodding toward the storm. "Stay here tonight? There's a couch in the back. It's not much, but it's warm." He didn't object, just gave a faint nod, and she accepted that as his answer. Anna stood, brushed her hands on her jeans, and fetched a spare blanket from the storage closet. She draped it over him. "Get some rest." Leon sank deeper into the chair, the blanket pooling around him, but his eyes followed her as she dimmed the lights and locked the door. She settled at the counter with her phone, the storm's noise a constant background. Within minutes, he was asleep, his breathing uneven but steady, a soft snore breaking the silence. Anna watched him, curiosity gnawing at her. Who was he, really? A wanderer? Someone hiding? Something about him didn't add up. She reached for her jacket, still draped over his chair, to grab her keys from the pocket. As she pulled it free, something heavy fell to the floor, a silver ring. Catching the light, she crouched to pick it up, running her fingers over its smooth surface. It was no ordinary ring. The weight and craftsmanship screamed wealth. She turned it over, squinting at the inside. There, engraved in elegant script, was a single word: Brooks. Her heart skipped. Brooks. That wasn't a name you found on just any ring. Anna sat back, the ring cold in her palm, her mind racing. She'd seen enough pawn shops to know this was valuable, maybe even custom-made. Why would a man like him, half-frozen and disheveled, have something like this? She glanced at Leon, asleep and unaware, suspicion growing inside her. He wasn't just a homeless man. There was more to his story. Anna pulled out her phone, its blue glow lighting her face, and typed Leon Brooks into the search bar. The results loaded slowly, the storm messing with the Wi-Fi, but soon headlines appeared. Tech millionaire Leon Brooks disappears amid financial scandal. Brooks Enterprises in turmoil as CEO vanishes. A grainy photo loaded a clean-shaven man in a suit, sharp jaw, gray eyes. Anna looked at the sleeping man across the room. Same eyes, same bone structure, just hidden beneath grime and exhaustion. Her pulse quickened. Could it really be him? She scrolled through more articles. Stories of fraud investigations. A collapsed business deal. A man who'd walked away from millions. No sign of where he'd gone. Just rumors and unanswered questions. Anna lowered her phone, the ring still in her hand. If this was Leon Brooks, why was he freezing outside her cafe? And why keep it secret? She slipped the ring back into the jacket pocket, her fingers trembling. Leon shifted, mumbling in his sleep, but didn't wake. Anna leaned against the counter, the storm's howl filling the silence. "Who are you, really?" she whispered, her words lost in the wind. She wouldn't press him, not yet, but she'd find out. By the time Wednesday arrived, the snow outside Brewhaven had settled into a thin, crunchy layer. The storm now, just a memory beneath a gray Boston sky. Anna stood behind the counter, steaming milk for a latte, her sleeves rolled up. The lunch crowd had come and gone, leaving the shop quiet except for the hiss of the espresso machine and the soft jazz from the radio. She hadn't thought much about Leon since that night work and bills had a way of pushing mysteries aside, but the ring still weighed on her mind, tucked safely in her jacket pocket. The bell above the door chimed, and Anna looked up, expecting a regular. Instead, a man in a tailored navy vest walked in, his polished shoes clicking on the tile. He was tall, clean-shaven, his dark hair neatly styled, and his gray eyes met hers with a steady, searching look. Anna froze, nearly dropping the milk pitcher. It was him, Leon, but no longer the shivering wreck she'd found in the snow. This version of Leon looked like he belonged in a boardroom, not coming in from a snowstorm. He walked up to the counter, hands in his pockets, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Anna, right?" His voice was smooth now, no longer rough in the cold. "I owe you a thank you." She set the milk pitcher down and wiped her hands on her apron, her brow furrowing. "Leon, you clean up well." She couldn't hide her surprise, her gaze flicking over his suit, clearly expensive and perfectly tailored. "What's this about?" she asked. Leon pulled out a slim leather wallet and slid a stack of crisp $100 bills across the counter. "For the other night," he said. "The jacket, the coffee letting me stay. I don't forget kindness." Anna stared at the money, then pushed it back toward him, her jaw set. "I didn't do it for money," she said firmly. "Keep it." Leon's smile faded, but he didn't argue. He tucked the bills away and leaned against the counter, studying her as if she were a mystery he wanted to solve. "You're stubborn," he said, almost amused. "Most people would have taken it." "Most people don't pull strangers in from the cold." She shot back, crossing her arms. "Why are you here, really? You don't look like you need help anymore." He straightened, his expression shifting, something vulnerable showing through his polished exterior. "I wanted to explain," he said, lowering his voice. "That night, I wasn't myself. I'm Leon Brooks. Used to run Brooks Enterprises. Tech millions, all of it. Lost everything a year ago. Scandal, bad deals. I walked away. Ended up on the streets. Try and forget. Then you found me." Anna's breath caught his memories of the ring, and the news headlines flashed through her mind. She'd suspected, but hearing it from him was different. "A millionaire?" she said, her tone skeptical. "You expect me to believe you were just wandering Boston, freezing?" "Believe what you want," he replied, unwavering. "I was finished until you gave me that jacket. You reminded me there's still good in the world." His eyes softened as he looked at her. "You woke something up in me, Anna." She blinked, caught off guard, her arms falling to her sides. Her heart pounded, a mix of disbelief and something else she couldn't name. "That's a lot," she managed, her voice softer. "I don't even know what to say." "Then don't," he said, stepping back. "Let me buy you dinner instead. Tomorrow night. I'll tell you the rest, how it all fell apart. Why I ended up here. No strings. Just a thank you." Anna hesitated, her fingers drumming on the counter. She didn't trust easily life had taught her that. But something about his story felt true. She'd seen those eyes before, empty and lost, and now they were different, alive. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "Because you didn't have to help," he answered simply. "But you did." The shop was quiet, jazz from the radio filling the silence. Anna bit her lip, weighing her options, curiosity pulling her one way, caution the other. At last, she nodded. "Okay, dinner, but I'm not promising anything." Leon's smile returned, small but genuine. "Fair enough. 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up here." He turned to leave, pausing at the door. "Thanks again, Anna, for more than you know." She watched him go, the bell above the door jingling as it closed. Her hand brushed her jacket on the rack, feeling the faint weight of the ring inside. A millionaire, a drifter, a man who'd lost everything. Leon Brooks was a riddle, and she couldn't shake the mix of doubt and warmth he left behind. She'd hear him out tomorrow. The smell of coffee and cinnamon filled Brewhaven as Anna wiped down the counter. Afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. 2 days had passed since Leon's dinner invitation, and her mind still spun with a story. A millionaire turned drifter, brought back to life by her act of kindness. She hadn't said yes yet, but she hadn't said no either. The bell chimed and a delivery man entered, holding a sleek envelope with her name written in bold ink. "Anna Lay?" he asked. She nodded, puzzled, and signed for it. Inside was a check 5 figures, enough to pay off her parents' mortgage and more. A simple typed note slipped out. "For your family. You deserve it. Leon." Anna's stomach flipped, her hands trembling as she clutched the paper. It was real money, life-changing, but it felt heavy, like a chain disguised as a gift. She stuffed the check back into the envelope, her heart pounding with a mix of gratitude and unease. What did he want in return? That night, she called him. He'd left his card after their last conversation, and she dialed his number, her voice tense. "Meet me at the shop. Now." He arrived 20 minutes later, still dressed in that navy vest, his expression calm but curious as he stepped inside. The cafe was empty, closed for the night, the fridge humming in the background. Anna slapped the envelope onto the counter, the check half visible. "What's this?" she demanded, her eyes fixed on his. Leon looked at the envelope, then back at her, calm and unbothered. "It's just a thank you. You mentioned your parents were having a hard time. I thought this might help." She folded her arms, her voice rising in disbelief. "Help? This is thousands of dollars, Leon. You can't just give that to someone." "What do you want from me?" she demanded. He frowned, stepping closer with his hands raised in surrender. "Nothing, I promise. You gave me something that night, no conditions, no questions. I'm just returning the favor." "Returning the favor?" she scoffed, her laugh sharp and skeptical. "I gave you a jacket, not a loan. This feels like you're trying to buy me or something." Her chest tightened, anxiety creeping in. She'd known men who used money to get what they wanted. Leon didn't seem like that, but this was overwhelming. He shook his head, his voice steady. "Anna, I don't want anything from you. I have money again sold off some old assets. I overheard you on the phone last week, worried about your dad's bills. I thought maybe I could help." She searched his face, his gray eyes sincere but guarded. It made sense, but it also didn't. She turned away, pacing, her sneakers squeaking on the floor. "You don't know me," she said. "Why do you care?" "Because you cared first," he replied softly, but with conviction. Later, alone, Anna dug for answers. Her phone glowed as she scrolled through old news stories. Leon Brooks, betrayed by a partner who ruined Brooks' enterprises, then abandoned by a fiancé who took off with the profits. Scandal after scandal, trust destroyed. No wonder he'd disappeared. But that didn't mean he wasn't playing her now. The next day, he came by again, hands empty. She met him at the door, the envelope in her hand. "I can't take this," she told him, holding it out. "It's too much. I don't trust it." Leon's shoulders dropped, but he nodded and accepted it back. "Okay, I understand." He paused, his voice softer. "I've been used before, Anna. I'd never do that to you." He scribbled something on a napkin and slid it to her his number again. "I don't expect you to pay me back. Ever. Call me if you change your mind." He left, the bell chiming behind him. Anna stood there, the napkin crumpled in her hand, tore between his words and the doubts still lingering in her mind. The weeks passed, winter tightening its hold on Boston, with icy winds and gray skies. Brewhaven settled into a rhythm of clattering cups and quiet conversations. But now there was something new. Leon Brooks. He started coming in every few days, always in that navy vest or a neat sweater, slipping into a booth with a black coffee and a nod. Anna didn't turn him away. Since the check incident, she kept her guard up, but his persistence wore her down. He didn't flash money or offer favors. He just sat, watched her work, and talked when she let him. At first, it was small talk with her, the shop's leaky roof, her knack for remembering orders. During slow hours, she'd lean on the counter, wiping it down as he sipped his coffee, his gray eyes softer now, less haunted. "You're good at this," he said one day, gesturing at the busy cafe, keeping it all together. She shrugged, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "I have to be. Life doesn't wait." He'd nod like he understood. She started to notice the way his shoulders slumped when he thought no one was watching, the faint scars on his knuckles from a life he never talked about. He wasn't the polished millionaire from the news anymore. He was just Leon, and she realized she liked that version better. One Friday, the shop emptied early, snow swirling outside the windows. Leon lingered, his coffee cold, as Anna closed the register. "Rough day?" he asked, watching her fumble with the keys. "Rough week," she admitted, dropping into the booth across from him. "My boss cut my hours. Rent's due. Same old story." He leaned forward, elbows on the table. "You ever think about more? Something bigger?" She raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Like what?" "I'm not exactly swimming in opportunities." "Dreams," he said simply. "What's yours?" She hesitated, tracing the table's edge with her finger. No one had ever asked her that. "Baking," she finally said, her voice quiet. "Real stuff. Cakes, bread. Maybe a little shop someday. Probably silly." "Not silly," he said, his tone steady. "Sounds right." She met his gaze, surprised by the steadiness there, and something shifted between them. That night, they talked longer about her mom's old recipes, his late-night drives to clear his head. He didn't push or pry, just listened, and she found herself laughing, the sound rare and genuine. A few nights later, the snow fell thick, blanketing the city in silence. Leon came by after closing, his coat dusted with white. "Walk with me?" he asked, his breath fogging in the cold. She grabbed her jacket, the same one he'd worn that first night, and followed him out, the chill biting her cheeks. They wandered down empty streets, snow crunching beneath their feet, the world quiet and still. He told her about his childhood. Boarding schools, distant parents, a life of privilege that left him feeling empty. "I built everything," he said, kicking at the snow, his voice adrift. "And then I lost it all. Didn't care until you." Anna stopped walking, her boots sinking into the fresh snow, her heart pounding. "Me," she whispered. He turned to face her, half illuminated by a streetlight, his expression unguarded and sincere. "You're the first person who's made me want to live again, Anna. Not just survive, but actually live." His voice trembled, hands buried deep in his pockets. "I was lost that night. You brought me back." Her breath caught, his words settling over her like a blanket warm and overwhelming. She stepped closer, snowflakes gathering on her eyelashes, and saw nothing but honesty in his gaze. He was vulnerable, real. "Leon," she began, her own defenses faltering. "You make me feel that, too, like there's something more." He let out a shaky laugh and reached for her hand. She let him, her fingers weaving through his cold but steady. They continued walking, sharing their hopes beneath the falling snow. Her dream of a bakery, his hope to rebuild not a business empire, but a life. The city faded away, leaving only the two of them, their steps in sync, their voices soft in the winter storm. When they returned to Brewhaven, the snow had piled high, the shop a dark silhouette against the white. They paused under the awning, their breath mingling in the cold air. Leon squeezed her hand, his thumb gently brushing her knuckles. "I mean it," he said quietly. "You're different." "So are you," she replied, her heart racing. They stood together, hands entwined, the cold wrapping around them like a cocoon. Anna realized then, friendship had grown into something deeper, love fragile and fierce, blooming in a hard winter. By mid-February, the snow had melted into slush, leaving Boston streets damp and gray. Anna closed the Brewhaven late, the neon sign buzzing as she pulled her jacket tighter against the chilly air. Leon had been there earlier, his favorite booth empty now, his coffee cup still warm when he left to take a call. Their evenings walks, conversations, hands brushing had become a gentle routine. But tonight something felt off, the air heavy with tension she couldn't name. She turned down the alley toward her bus stop when a shadow stepped out, broad-shouldered, slick-back hair, and a smirk that made her skin crawl. "Leon's little savior," the man said, his voice cold and smooth. She froze, her keys digging into her palm. "Who are you?" "Mark," he replied, moving closer, his expensive coat skimming the wet pavement. "Old friend of his. He's been avoiding me. But you're the leverage I need." His eyes glinted, predatory. "Tell him to back off, or I'll spill every dirty secret from Brooks Enterprises. Tax evasion, shady deals. He'll be finished." Anna's pulse raced, anger flaring above her fear. "I don't know what you're talking about," she snapped, stepping back. "Leave me alone." Mark laughed, low and menacing. "Cute, but he's not worth it, sweetheart. Walk away or I'll make you." Before she could react, he lunged, grabbing her arm and twisting hard. Pain shot through her wrist as she stumbled, her keys scattering to the ground. She swung her free fist, striking his jaw, but he shoved her against the brick wall, his breath hot on her cheek. "Last warning," he hissed, tightening his grip. A shout echoed through the darkness. "Get away from her." Leon charged into the alley, his coat flapping as he tackled Mark, slamming him against the opposite wall. Anna scrambled to her feet as the two men fought, fists flying. Mark landed a punch to Leon's ribs, but Leon retaliated, driving his elbow into Mark's nose, blood splattering the slush. Mark staggered, cursing, and pulled a switchblade, the blade flashing under the streetlight. "Leon, watch out!" Anna called. Leon dodged as Mark slashed, the knife grazing his arm and tearing his sleeve. Leon grabbed Mark's wrist, twisting until the blade fell, then kneed him hard in the stomach. Mark collapsed, wheezing, and Leon pinned him, chest heaving. "Stay away from her," Leon growled, his voice raw. "Come near us again, and I'll bury you legally or otherwise." He shoved Mark into the ground and stood, blood trickling from his arm, his eyes wild as they found Anna. She rushed to him, hands trembling as she touched his face. "You're hurt," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm fine," he panted, pulling her close. Mark groaned, dragging himself up and limping away, his threats fading into the night. Leon's jaw tightened. "He's my old partner. Screwed me over. Took everything. I've got dirt on him, too. He's finished." Anna nodded, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. "He said he'd destroy you." "Let him try," Leon replied, his tone fierce. "I've got lawyers, evidence." "He's got nothing." He grimaced, holding his injured arm, and she quickly led him to the shop's back entrance, unlocking it with shaky hands. Once inside, she grabbed a first aid kit, her fingers gradually steadying as she cleaned his shallow wound, the gauze turning red with his blood. Leon watched her, his breathing evening out, his hand resting gently on her knee. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never thought he'd come after you." She finished wrapping the bandage, meeting his eyes. "He didn't win," she said firmly. "We're stronger than they think." He gave her a small, genuine smile and pulled her into a hug. She leaned into him, the warmth of his embrace grounding her. Their scars his arm, her wrists were proof of what they'd survived together. The past had come for them, but they had faced it as one. As spring arrived in Boston, the snow melted into puddles that mirrored the city's restless energy. Anna wiped down the counter at Brewhaven, her movements tense, her jaw clenched. The last week had turned her quiet routine upside down. Tabloids plastered her face everywhere, headlines blaring Barista bags, Millionaire, Gold Digger, or Good Samaritan. Customers whisper behind their coffee cups, their glances making her skin crawl. Leon Brooks, once invisible, was now back in the public eye, and she had become the punchline attached to his name. It all began after Mark's attack. Someone had snapped a blurry photo of them outside the Cafe Leon's arm bandaged, her hand on his. The story exploded. Disgraced tycoon finds love in the gutter. Online, it was even worse. Trolls accuse her of being a leech, a gold digger clinging to his restored fortune. Leon faced his own backlash, with blogs questioning his judgment for dating a nobody waitress. Anna's phone buzzed constantly with notifications. She couldn't silence them. Each alert stung her pride. She'd been avoiding Leon, dodging his calls, and working late to miss their usual moments together. But tonight, he appeared, slipping inside just as the last customer left. He wore a casual sweater, but his eyes were intense, fixed on her. "You're shutting me out," he said, leaning on the counter. "Why?" Anna tossed a rag aside, her voice quiet. "Did you see the papers? They think I'm some parasite, Leon. Your friends probably do too. I can't handle this." He stepped closer, concern etched on his face. "I don't care what they think. I care about you." She let out a bitter laugh, turning away. "That's easy for you to say. You're used to the spotlight. I'm not. I'm a joke now, and it's humiliating." Her hands trembled, shame burning inside her. "Maybe we should end this. I don't belong in your world." "No," he said sharply, gently catching her wrist to stop her from pacing. "You don't get to walk away because of them. I'm not letting you go, Anna. Not over trashy headlines." She pulled her hand free, tears in her eyes. "It's not just headlines, Leon. It's me. My life, my dignity. I gave you a jacket, not a ticket to drag me through this mess." His expression softened, his voice low. You gave me so much more than that. You gave me a reason to fight again. I'm not losing you to this." She hesitated, torn, but the pressure felt overwhelming. Before she could protest, he straightened, determination in his eyes. "I'll fix this," he promised, and walked out, the bell above the door ringing after him. 2 days later, the TV in Brewhaven blared Leon's voice at a press conference, cameras flashing as he stood at a podium downtown. Anna froze mid-pour, coffee spilling onto the counter as his words echoed through static. "I've stayed silent for too long," Leon declared, his voice calm and commanding. "The rumors about Annalay are false. She's not a gold digger. She saved me with nothing but her kindness. No hidden motives, no selfishness. When I was at my lowest, she gave me hope I thought I'd lost forever. I love her for that, plain and simple." The room fell silent, reporters scribbling furiously, before a wave of questions erupted. Leon lifted his hand to quiet them. "Judge me if you want, but leave her out of it. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me." With that, he left the stage, the press buzzing in his wake. Anna stared at the television, her chest tight, a rush of warmth flooding through her. By that evening, everything changed. Social media rallied behind her. Fans celebrated her authenticity, and newspapers rewrote their headlines. "Hero Barista wins heart." Leon arrived at closing time, hope and uncertainty in his eyes. "Did you see it?" he asked. She nodded, stepping around the counter. "You didn't have to do that." "I did," he replied, taking her hand. "We're in this together, Anna. Forget the noise." She squeezed his hand, her shame dissolving into determination. "Okay," she said, her voice steady. They stood together, united and ready for whatever came next. A year passed, and Boston buzzed with the crisp promise of another winter. Anna Brooks stood in the doorway of Lay's Sweet Haven, her bakery a cozy brick shop nestled on a busy street. The sign above glowed softly, her name in elegant script, a dream made real. The aroma of cinnamon rolls and fresh bread drifted out, mingling with the cold as customers filled the space, their voices a gentle hum. She wore a flour-dusted apron over her sweater, her dark hair pulled back, a quiet smile on her lips. Leon joined her, slipping an arm around her waist, his navy coat brushing her side. They'd married 6 months earlier in a simple ceremony at City Hall, just the two of them, a few friends, and Jake from Brewhaven, who'd grumbled but showed up. No fancy clothes, just vows whispered over coffee, their rings playing band that caught the light as they stood together. Leon had left the last of his old world behind, selling off Brooks' enterprises and pouring his experience into Anna's dream. "Busy day," he said, his breath fogging the cold. He nodded toward the line inside, where a teenage barista from a local shelter rang up orders with a shy smile. "You're doing amazing." Anna leaned into him, her hand resting on his. "We're doing amazing," she corrected softly. The bakery was a product of late-night planning and his business sense. He handled logistics and marketing, while she perfected the recipes. Her mom's pound cake, a lemon tart that always sold out. Together, they turned her old dream into something real, a place where flour and sugar spun a new story. Their life had grown roots. They'd moved into a modest row house nearby, swapping his penthouse for a kitchen where she tested dough, and he brewed coffee too strong for her. But it wasn't just about them. Every week, they loaded up a van with leftover pastries and blankets, delivering warmth to those in need. It began with Anna insisting on sharing what they had. Leon embraced it, using his resources for her mission. They called it Haven Outreach, a quiet project born from a night she saved him. Inside, a volunteer packed boxes for the evening run, her laughter ringing out. Anna watched, her heart full not just pride, but deep peace she'd never known. Leon caught her gaze, his gray eyes crinkling. "What's that smile for?" he asked. She turned to him, gesturing at the shop, the street, their life, all of this. "I never thought dash." He cut her off, pulling her close, his lips brushing her forehead. "Me neither. You changed everything, Anna." As the sky darkened and the first snowflakes drifted down, they stepped outside, the bakery's glow at their backs. They stood on the sidewalk, watching the city blur into white. Leon's hand found hers, their fingers lacing together, strong and sure. A child darted past, chasing a snowball, his laughter echoing, and Anna laughed, the sound bright against the hush. She glanced at the shop, her name shining on the sign, then at Leon, his face softened by the winter light. They had weathered storms as past, her doubts, the world's judgment, and come out stronger. The jacket she'd given him that first night now hung in their closet, a reminder of where it all began. But this moment, this life, was a true gift. Snowflakes caught in her lashes as she squeezed his hand, her voice a whisper in the quiet. "We made it." "Yeah," he said, pulling her close. "We did." They stood together, side by side, the bakery glowing behind them, snow swirling softly. It was more than a happy ending, it was a new beginning. A love forged by kindness, strong as steel, bright as the winter night ahead. Snow fell gently over Boston, blanketing the sidewalk where Anna and Leon stood, hands clasped as Lay's Sweet Haven glowed behind them. What began as a simple Act A jacket offered in a storm had grown into a life of love, purpose, and resilience, from a shivering stranger to a true partner. Leon found redemption in Anna's compassion, and she discovered her own strength in their shared journey. Together, they turned hardship into hope, proving that even the coldest nights can lead to the warmest days. As the snow settled, their story whispered a simple truth. Sometimes the smallest gesture can change everything. If Anna and Leon's story touched your heart, how a barista's kindness thawed a millionaire's despair, how love overcame doubt, and danger, don't miss more stories like this. Subscribe to Echoes of Resilience, where every tale celebrates the power of human connection. Click subscribe now and join us for the next heartwarming adventure.